Hey guys, welcome back to another review, and today I'm going to be looking at the Wurkkos HD20. This is the largest headlamp I've seen out there. I didn't even know they made them with 21,700 cells, but here we are today. And Wurkkos have taken advantage of the size of this light, and they've added in quite a generously sized TIR lens here. That's perfect because this light features an XPL HD LED up the top there. You've got an LH351 for this bottom light. It's more of like an auxiliary general floodlight for anything up close, reading, that sort of thing. And as always with Wurkkos, they include everything you need with the flashlight. You've got the battery inside here, the 21,700 cell. You've got the headband here to the left. You've got a lanyard. You've got a USB-C charging cable. You've got the clip here, comes attached originally. And you also get a little tube here if you want to use an 18650 cell battery. Thought I'd show you also a size comparison between some of my other headlamps, and I've got the Wurkkos HD15 here to the right. Also got the AceBeam H16 here. This one takes an 18650 cell, this one 14500. So surprisingly, the HD20 isn't super large, but definitely is wider and taller than the HD15. So if you don't mind, I really think that one probably is a winner in terms of overall output. Okay, just a little close up of the light, and Wurkkos use a nice sort of smooth anodizing. Comes with a whole bunch of colors. I ended up getting the green color. So you can see here the two LEDs. The one on the top there is the XPL HD LED. That's the one that produces the spot beam, large sort of the throwy sort of beam, and the bottom LED here is the Samsung LH351D, and I'm pretty sure that they could have ramped it up a little bit more. It's not as bright as I've seen in maybe some of my other lights, but it is still pretty bright for a general floodlight, something closer to you. You've also got a magnet here on the tail of the light, so it can stand sideways, also overhead, no issues at all. And there's the head of the flashlight. You've got this sort of blue ring, and there's also even a battery indicator in the head of the flashlight headlamp as well. Okay, and it's quite chunky. It's only pretty chunky around the head. Interesting little cutouts here, but there's a lot of material to help dissipate heat. USB-C charging port there, and you've got that rubber gasket on the back as well. I really like the green. The battery tube has some knurling on it that gives it enough grip. I think that's important because this sort of anodization is a little bit slippery. Even the tail cap has some knurling on it as well. You can attach the ring to two spots here and on the back as well of the light. I'll just show you what the UI is like. So you can actually hold from off, and that will produce moonlight mode. If you click 3 times while the light is on, you can actually toggle between the different LEDs. So that's 3 clicks, 1, 2, 3. So all LEDs on, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's off. If I turn it on, it just goes into the last mode, the last kind of memory mode that was available. Okay, and yeah, basically, so low, medium, high, and to get into turbo, double click. Okay, you can also double click from off to turbo. Cool thing is also, if say you're in this mode here, the highest mode, not highest, but the high mode, double click for turbo, and then you click again, it returns to that high mode. Okay, so you can sort of toggle and then switch off the light completely. Another thing you can do is that if you double click again to access turbo, you can double click from there, which gives you strobe. Double click again and you get a hidden SOS mode. Double click again and you get a beacon mode. I think beacon mode is probably more useful in my opinion than strobe, okay, to sort of preserve battery life and get attention if you're lost out somewhere. And I'm pretty sure that can run for a very, very long period of time. Just sort of switch to turn off. Another way you can change between the LEDs as well, let me just switch it to the lower mode, is that you can click and click hold. Okay, turn on, then click, click, hold. Okay, and it just cycles in between them. Once you're happy with a certain mode, just let go, like that. You can also, like I was showing you before, but I didn't mention it, but 3 clicks will activate that light onto the back, so you can tell what the battery level is like. And you've also got electronic lockout, so 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, and it's locked out, which is useful. 1, 2, 3, 4. But again, you can do things like just unscrew the tail cap, and you have the mechanical lockout, which is even better. All right, so let's talk a little bit about performance. And I've done a ceiling bounce test with the HD20, and you can see here it's lasting on 100% all the way up to the 4-minute mode. And this was both LEDs on, which is really, really impressive. Okay, 4 minutes on 100%, and starts to ramp down very suddenly. Around the 5-minute mark, you're basically on 20% output. But something very interesting happens. I haven't seen this before, but it slowly starts to climb up to about 30%. So I think just as the light starts to cool down, it does increase its output a little bit. It holds pretty much steady on 30%. I just left it there to about 17 minutes. I activated turbo again, and it gives me about a minute and ramps down again pretty quickly, back to 20%, and that same pattern emerges where it slowly starts to ramp up again to 30%. Quite an interesting little pattern there. So I ran another ceiling bounce test just with the top XPL HD LED on, and you get a pretty similar sort of result, 100% all the way up until about the 3 to 4 minute mark, where it ramps down pretty suddenly to 30%, goes up again to about nearly 40%. So there is a slight difference. I mean, it doesn't ramp down as heavily with just one of the LEDs on. It probably just produces less heat, so we're able to sustain higher outputs with just the top LED on. But similar sort of thing again. I activated turbo just before the 14-minute mark, and it holds its lumens for about a minute or so before it starts ramping down quite quickly again to about 30. I ran this third ceiling bounce test with the XPL HD on high, and there was no ramping down at all. Ran the test for about 14 minutes, was able to hold 100%, which is great. So there's definitely a proper high version on here. It's good that I didn't see any fluctuation at all in brightness over that testing period. And what I did as well, I activated that bottom LED, the LH351D on turbo, and it was just able to maintain its output, 100% output, past the 18-minute mark. And it's really, like I said, it's not as bright as I thought it would be, but it's still pretty good. I think it's more just use as an auxiliary light. But yeah, if you want to anything up to 5 to 10 meters ahead of you on turbo, I mean, that's pretty good, especially in complete darkness as well. Some considerations to be aware of: this headlamp is pretty big. It's bigger and it's heavier than all of my other headlamps, but if you do want the extra runtime, throw, brightness, the HD20 is a really good option. You can always just get the HD15 if you want a smaller option. Having worn this on my head just to test it out here and there, if you've got the strap on tight, you'll be completely fine. Does definitely feel heavier than my 14500 cell lights, but something like this is really going to last you a long time between charges, whereas the 14500, you're not going to get as much brightness, not as much throw, nowhere near as much throw as well, because of this larger TIR lens in there. So overall, I think this is a surprisingly rugged, versatile headlamp. For those of you who want a headlamp that can also double as a standalone flashlight. You've got the extra runtime, the power, and also the flexibility between that spot beam and that floody beam as well. I think this is a really good choice. So if you're interested, I've left a link in the description. Go ahead and check it out if you want to purchase it. And if you have any questions as well, just let me know down in the comments. I'll get back to you because there's probably some questions you guys have, some things that I've missed out on. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, click that like button because it will help me to get my video to more people. And if you want to see more reviews, make sure you subscribe. Okay, I've got the Wurkkos HD20 with me here, and I've got both LEDs on. So the larger thrower one with the Cree XPL and the smaller one with the Nextorch 519A, both on at the same time, and that's the lowest mode. And you've got a combination, nice combination of a throwy beam with the flood as well, a little bit of flood, and yeah, it's decent for short distance. Press and hold. Second mode, and you know, it's got some decent throw because the reflector, the TIR lens, is actually quite large. It's a 21700 cell light, so they were able to actually fit in a much larger lens there. Okay, third, and there we go. You know, good amount of flood and a very pronounced hot spot in the center. Okay, it's not a large hotspot. Double press, and that is your turbo. Quite impressive. It is hitting the trees at the back, definitely. It's tinting them. Difficult to see the green, but you can definitely see the trunks of the trees there at the back. I don't really notice it ramping down yet. Turn off. Oops. There you go. You can sort of put on the strobe as well. Back to turbo. Okay. Get some nice sort of peripheral light as well. Good amount of spill. Now I can switch it over to the other, just the single LEDs. So I'll turn it on. Okay. Now this is just the flood. Okay. Very difficult to see. Okay. 1, 2, 3. That's the third mode. Double press. That's your kind of flood turbo, the Nextorch. So there's not a whole. I mean, you can probably see up ahead. It's a decent walking light, maybe about 10 to 20 meters or so. But into that field, no, not really much. Okay, so I'll switch over to the spot beam. Okay, just by itself. Okay, that's your spot beam. And I'll cycle through it first, second, third mode. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And the third mode is, yeah, it's good. You can still see all the way into that field. And I'm actually surprised that most of the floodiness is actually generated with the top LED, the XPL. You know, even on the ground here, you can see a decent amount of flood even without that 519A activated. Double press, and yeah, I mean, most of the light comes from that top LED with the TIR lens. No doubt about it. Wurkkos HD20, and this is on the low mode with both LEDs on. Medium, high. Turbo. See those sort of goalposts right at the back there. Lots of flood. Almost like a 180, or near 180 degree beam. Quite practical. It's not really 100% able to. Yeah, it's touching the building at the back, but only just tinting it. The lighter parts of the building. It's very hard to see there on camera, but it is a little. Okay, a bit of a strobe just to activate that. Back to turbo.
So we've got the Wurkkos HD20 down this little alleyway, and that's with both beams on turbo, both LEDs. You can see some sort of the back of some air conditioner or something down there. You can cycle through the different modes. Okay, low, medium, high. Even high reaches down to the end. Double click. Okay, so pretty decent visibility all the way through to the end. And turn it off and just swap over to just the spot beam itself. Okay, and there's really not a huge difference. I mean, you've got the spot beam, so this is just the spot beam itself on low, medium, high. Decent throw for the high. Double click and great visibility. I mean, I can't tell too much difference really. I don't see any difference at all really in terms of the throw. There's more spill obviously with both LEDs on, but this functions perfectly well with just the top LED on. Okay, and I'll turn this off and we'll go on to the just the bottom mode. So I'll just switch it onto the bottom one like that, and this is just with the Nichia 519A on low. Okay, medium, high. I mean, it's really difficult to see, but a little bit of spill there. That's about it. Wurkkos HD20. This is on the low mode with both LEDs on. Yeah, still tints the buildings, but really low visibility. Hold again. Second mode. Medium. Hold again. High. So now we're kind of talking. We can see most of really what's going on in those buildings, but in terms of the windows, not much visibility inside. For double click, a little bit better. Really just lights up this whole block of buildings very well. Off. Oops. Off. And on turbo. Wurkkos HD20. It's on the highest mode here. Alright, this is the Wurkkos HD20. There we have it on turbo mode with both LEDs activated. Off, back on, and turbo again. Doesn't quite reach, well, it does reach to the back, but mainly just tinting some of those buildings, but yeah, there's a lot of ambient light out here as well, so it makes it difficult to tell.